Yes.
Okay, great. All right, guys. So for those who can, let us see your faces. That would be great. If you can't, I understand, but we're going to start. And I am going to start with an introduction. I think everybody knows who I am, but I want to state the purpose of this meeting. This is the second Oneverse planning meeting. We had one yesterday that I recorded. I will send this recording as well as the one from yesterday to everybody via email. What we established yesterday is that we are going to have an event on February 28th. The start time is 8 a.m. The end time at this point is 4 p.m., but that is to be open for us to change. The idea is that we're going to have an event that could be hybrid. It could be a physical event where we're going to use the City Club in Los Angeles as the hub, and we're going to produce a media hub inside of one of the ballrooms. Not sure exactly if we're going to have an audience, but we're certainly going to have a crew that will take that room over and set up for us to be able to create a studio. And that will allow us to take that studio and bring people virtually in and essentially create a program that will have modules stacked one on top of each other, 55-minute modules. Some of the people on here have committed. Some people are still kind of on the fence trying to figure out what this is. And ideally, what I'd like to do is to try and create a way for us to get the people who committed to take a day part or a time of the day that's convenient for them. And then we can start to create a program guide. The idea is to give everybody kind of a lightning round of opportunities to present something that will create a 55-minute presentation and then have breakout rooms so that if the conversation is compelling enough, then people want to follow that conversation to that breakout room for overdrive. But the program guide will become something that I am going to try and take to publication. And I've got Terrence Coles on the line who is going to head up the production. And I want him to be able to understand the who, what, why, where, and how, so that in his idea of creating a working document that can allow everybody who commits to have something that we then can publish and make sure that organically everything becomes something that we can have a second or third production meeting that Terrence will then take over. And then everybody will kind of, be able to report to him as to what their vision for the actual production, all the content, pre-production, things that he will do will be from his purview. I'm only here as the organizer, and it's my vision to make this a shared vision. And I've called it Oneverse. I believe the title is something that will allow people to understand that I want the metaverse to be something that we can discover and take apart so that it doesn't run over around our communities. And I kind of create a community that's defined as U3D. General Bray termed it as underrepresented, under-resourced, and under the radar screen and disenfranchised. And this could be anybody from students to faculty, to parents, to stakeholders, and anybody in between. So we want to make sure that anything inside of the metaverse for our communities, we look at how to exploit it in real time, as well as to make sure our offerings connect and collaborate one to another so that we can do more investigation of how to collaborate on things that we can learn from each other. So does anybody have any questions, suggestions, or comments about what I've said thus far? We can use the chat box or you can just speak out. Okay. So what I want to do
Yeah.
is,
So,
go ahead.
no, I just had a quick thought. After listening to what you were saying, I did have a few questions and or just ideas.
Okay, and if you can't introduce yourself, because some people have never heard of you before.
Oh, okay,
We
cool.
can't see your
All right.
face, especially since we can't see your face.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. So, hi everybody. My name is Shoni Doe. I am sort of like the student voice of this program in terms of like what we're planning. Some student representation is what I'm hoping to bring to the event, and being able to connect to all the big, great, beautiful things that we're wanting to showcase there with these students. Hopefully, that we're able to reach through this event that we're planning and creating, if not on the day of the event, then after the event with post-production content that we do put up online. Um, I've been working with Kevin for a good 3 years now, going on 4. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell in terms of how I fit into this project. It's very nice to meet all of you. Let's see if I can sit down here. Just trying to get some cleaning in. All right, so hi. Basically, my thought and or suggestion in terms of setting things up was for this event is that in order to pull out the most from these students or the most from our viewers, I think it'd be great to plan some type of interactive segments and within each of the presentations or within each thing that we're doing. So that way, whatever it is that we're teaching or presenting, it's interactive. People can actually engage, and engagement brings, long-term memory. And then at the same time, I'd say having 25-minute bursts, because that's really the longest period of time of attention, really before scientifically the brain's attention span begins to dip is 25 minutes. It's called primacy. So I think it'd be great to also frame the presentations that we're doing with this primacy and recency within mind. Primacy, the first 25 minutes of whatever you're learning or engaging with, having a break, and then recency is the last 25 minutes. So if you're in an hour-long lesson, you're more than likely going to remember just the beginning and probably the ending, and everything in the middle you're probably going to have very fuzzy ideas of, unless you're a heavy note taker. So just some things to consider when presenting. Just some things I'm considering when presenting. You don't have to. I just want to share that with you all. And then my question was, Kevin, do you know of the amount of time each person's going to be having? And is there a way of being interactive ahead of time? Like, are we able to get things or like materials online that people who are coming to view can download or that can like look at on their phone? Are we going with that kind of level of interaction, or is it just going to be video strictly? And I'll end it there. That was just my question. I already gave some suggestions, just creative input. Thanks for having me on the call.
Great question, Shoni. And again, this is a open forum for us to take some of these suggestions or questions to committee. I'm going to defer, and this is not in any particular order. I'm going to defer to Jeff. Do you have a response to what Shoni mentioned, Jeff, as to how to make this more interactive and give maybe students or audience a chance to interact with the content before the presentation and, more importantly, afterwards?
No, at this point, no, because I wasn't on the planning session yesterday. So the thought process is I'll catch up to what the planning is, and then I'll probably have some insights at that point. If you want to go over it, I'm happy to do that too.
Okay, and Shane, can you scroll down? So now I want to get into the body of the abstract. So I can
okay, great. And as I'm scrolling, if I could, very good. As I'm scrolling, if I could add some input on the interaction, I like narrowing down the time frame for the interaction. And if we wanted to open it up, I don't know about the before just yet, like we can put up forms that folks can, fill out surveys, review information. But as far as live, each person who's holding their own segment, if they manage their own Zoom account, then they can create a Zoom that will, enable people to interact with the chat box. And of course, Zoom keeps all of that and archives it as well. So that could be part of the workflow that's integrated as far as, interaction. And then as far as post-production, I love the idea of us recording everything and editing it down, but it would be my recommendation in post to take that content and narrow down the surface information of it and make that available publicly on YouTube and everything else, with a call to action at the end to sign up for a free account to get the rest of the content. And we put the rest of the content behind lock and key in our own membership platform, where we attract users, students, parents, and faculty to continue engaging in the content.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Quick
Okay,
question.
so
What is the
stop
age
it.
target? What is the age target for this, the February 28th?
Right. So Jeff, that was a question was asked yesterday, and I looked at the date February 28th, Monday, so that I can create a way to penetrate classrooms that I have entree into. So I have K through 12 classrooms, I have community college classrooms, and I have four-year university classrooms that I can connect to on that day. Obviously, what I'd like to do is to take the core audience that can connect to career workforce conversation. So K through 12 people maybe not that interested, or maybe not prepared for careers in the content and connectivity of the content. But I think 18 to 25 is what I would believe is the core audience, 18 to 25.
Well, I think first we should tighten that down, because even if that's the core audience, if you're looking at K through 12, that's such a different experience than it is a college student. So yeah, if it's going to be 18 to 22, whatever that is, 18 to 25, that's great. But we should make sure we know that and make sure that you're only focused on that, because I think that in this case, we should program around that and have another one for younger, unless we change some of the curriculum out. On the participation piece, I asked that because we can do breakouts on Zoom. You can do polls on Zoom to keep interactivity. In one of the sections, or in a few of the sections, have a breakout where the moderator can put the people very easily in groups, and they have one assignment that they work on that's very brief, but gives them a chance to work with each other, and then come back and somebody presents out their work. So we can do a few things to create interactivity in an online way. Not a lot, but enough.
Okay, great. And one of the ideas I had for the K through 12 audience, because this is the end of Black History Month, I wanted some of the instructors to know that this is an activity that could allow some of the students to see Black faces and Black historians and Black history makers to be on the program. So whether or not they can interact with it, I want them to be able to see not only the content, but I want them to see the people that are presenting things that could be the takeaway for those younger audiences.
So then, if I may ask, because from the sounds of it, Kevin, is that you want to hit all those classes, but what Jeff is kind of concerned about is, can they comprehend the level that we're trying to bring in the careers that we're trying to showcase? I like what you're talking about in terms of sharing, in their minds, different people who are of their skin tone, who are successful, who are in these fields that they may potentially want to be in when they grow up, or that they're just interested in general. So is there a possibility, you think, the open-ended question for everybody here, is it possible to schedule out a different day where like day 1 is dedicated towards K through 12 and maybe day 2 is more dedicated to college. That way, because I think trying to do both on one day would be it wouldn't be impossible, but it would definitely be a lot more to juggle. So I think if you split it in 2, where it's like the 27th of February is dedicated to K through 12, here's how we're teaching this, and then or how we're showcasing something. And it could be a much shorter thing where it's just more of a showcasing of careers. I don't know. I'm just
Okay.
giving an idea, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and that is that, you know, my brain doesn't work that way. When I put this together, I was thinking about a 1-day intensive. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I want to make sure that it's linear enough for those who are trying to get their classrooms, their students, to engage in it in a way where it's comfortable for them, and it's maybe another day. Yeah. Unfortunately, Monday, the 28th is the end of Black History Month, and the day before is Sunday, the 27th. So it could be Friday for those classrooms that are not connected to the core audience, that we could have something for them on the 25th. Everything's possible. I mean, there's nothing that we can't do, but I just want to make sure. And again, this is just my wish for a day of activity. And doesn't mean that we're going to have all these modules. It's just, you know, something that I wanted to put up there as a straw man proposal for people, places, and things. So, but if we could scroll down a little bit more, Shane, this is what I just threw up there. And again, I'm going to have Terrence put this in a working document so that people can say, hey, yeah, I'm comfortable with this time. And then they can then start to submit inside of their time what their panel, the abstract for their panel, the who, what, why, where, and here for their panel. So all I did is just put something out there that would give people a chance to start throwing darts at it.
Yeah, no, and ultimately, I think, you know, we take that run a show, lay it out again, as Kevin's saying, based on people's schedules, who's committed, pick a time slot that works, right? And then we can structure those particular pieces. And then if we're using Zoom, great. I mean, if something else, I mean, you know, have access to stuff like StreamYard, talk to these guys at Paragon. You know, there's a lot of different technologies that we could use that might allow the breakout rooms and the rest. If Zoom is our default, we go with that. You know, but ultimately look at how we want to leverage the platform, and in each of the folks who have their session, we can accommodate that, right? If somebody's more familiar with polls or somebody's more familiar with the breakout, you know what I'm saying? But really, I think, you know, we should allow the folks who are going to do the session to design that session, understanding that what Shoni said, one, it's got to be educational. There's a certain group you're talking to, and then some level of interactivity such that folks can participate or feel engaged, right? And I do agree 100%. And I don't see your name on the bottom. Well, you're at the bottom of my screen. Who's just talking about putting stuff behind lock and key and user for user acquisition, right? So I believe in all of that. I don't know that the car yet has the infrastructure to support that. So perhaps that's going to be a vision statement of where we want.
That's a work in progress. That's a work in progress.
But only reason why I say that is because I have the infrastructure and we can spin it off immediately. And if it's something that,
so let's talk. I mean,
by the 28th, and I would be open. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk technically. I'd be the technical guy. Kevin's got to do the business part of bringing a new platform for Dakar. But certainly technically integrating that and the rest, all ears and happy to talk.
Excellent.
Okay, great. And Shane, can you scroll down, you know, because again, this is my vision or wish list for a program. And again, we can edit, extract, as well as add and subtract things on the go. So I plan on this becoming a Google Doc, and those people who can commit and then, you know, give commitments to the day parts, then we can start to push forward. Some part of this is going to be very ambitious because I do want to have a physical presence at the City Club. I've already been given the room. I'm a member of the City Club. I've already been given a room. How I use it is kind of up to us. Some people, I talked to Jay Tucker yesterday, who said he'd love to be able to show up because he thinks that being there in person means more than being there virtually, because everybody's over Zoomed and over virtual out. So seeing something that could become a physical connection between speakers, panelists, is something that he believes that would be more compelling for him. So I just want to throw that
That's
out there
good.
so people
I
can
mean,
make
look,
it.
if Jay wants to do his in person, somebody else wants to do theirs virtual, I think we need to allow for that, right? I think the only question is audience or not, right? But that's the key, right? If Jay, because I do agree, people in a room right now, you know, in this environment has a different vibe because people ain't seen anybody in a minute. So there's a value to that. And again, I need to be sensitive. Some people are not as comfortable getting in a room with anybody right now. And therefore we should allow that. But I do believe hybrid and leave it up to the person with their session as to how they like to conduct it. And then we figure out how to accommodate.
Right. And to that point, because again, we're running out of time. Jeff, how do you feel about, you know, any physical presence on that day? Is there something that, I guess, at downtown Los Angeles, I don't know if you've ever been to the City Club.
Yeah, I can do either. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Cool. And look, ultimately, I'm going to figure out like a set, right? A panel set, something like that, right? Probably, you know, I mean, it's a nice enough place. You might not need a green screen, right? It might be reasonable up to set, but that's, you know, we'll do a walkthrough, that kind of thing. You know, pre-production meetings, at least we have a little bit of time. So we got 3 weeks of conversations prior to that. But that's another important part, right? How do we need to set it? What do you have available? And I want to test the tech, right? Make sure we can get people in, out, audio on both sides, all that, right? And what are those needs? And making sure that if you do bring anybody in from outside, they are in a place that is camera friendly. They have audio, they know how to connect, all that kind of stuff, waiting room. You know, those are the things that are going to add production value if we are able to pull it together and really raise the level of what we're trying to do.
Right.
And like some pre-instructional guidelines and videos and you know, communication with those people attending and scheduled to do it virtually and
All that walk through.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that, right? I mean, that's the thing missing in half this stuff, right? Half of it is like this, right? Okay, that's fine. This is good for a business meeting. If we're trying to be camera friendly, you know, a white brick background is all right, but I might want to have something that represents who I am, right? Or what we're business. Anyway, those little things matter. They help, and they help also get engaging in the rest. And I apologize, I have to drop for another call, but I'm happy to continue this. Kevin, I'll send around something so we can get a first pre-production meeting going next week, and we'll start the Google Doc together and collaborate. But I'm really excited to work with all of you.
Great. Thank you, Terrence. I appreciate your leadership on this. And so for the rest of the people that have to drop off, I do want to suggest that the narrative for this thing is that I think that there's an audience, a message, but I want there to be an understanding that some part of the planning, pre-production, production, and post-production is a learning experience for some students that I have yet to meet. So there are some students from the 18 to 25-year-old age group that I will be engaging. I have a conversation at 1 o'clock this afternoon with a governmental agency who is going to give me a group of people that I can boil down to be involved with this event. And my takeaway from all of this is that it is going to work, whether or not it becomes the production values and it becomes wildly successful on everybody else's part. But my takeaway is if we can get some students exposed to all the elements and the processes and getting something like this out to the marketplace, we will have been very successful. But I do want to make sure that, you know, everybody has some shared vision of what success is. So before we break, is there anybody that has anything that they want to suggest as to what shared vision for success would be for this event?
Well, I think in order to fully even answer that question, I'd have to first understand the proper setup we're going for. Because like there are kind of some lingering questions that need to be answered, like is this for a full audience live or is this for post audience? You know, if it's I think that like to kind of give a general idea or a general success thing, I think it would be great if we're able to create something that is short, concise, and in the terms of like an introduction, or in terms of just starting that relationship with our audience in terms of what it is that we do, what it is that we're aiming to achieve, and inviting them on a journey to join us further on whatever platform that we choose to further put more content on. I think that would be the general success in my mind, that I can say based off of what I've seen, what I've read, and what I've heard so far on this event.
Okay, well, there is a vision for Kevin Clark in Dakar. I have an initiative, or I have a plan to do this once per month as a student activity, student generated, student produced. But it's around the idea of curriculum building in the area that I'm going to call it Ethnic Studies 101. So I want a lot of the content, I want a lot of the people to be connected through my goal of having the ability to produce ethnic studies programming. So whether it be online, whether it be print, I think that there's an opportunity for us to really impact ethnic studies. And that hasn't, I think I've mentioned it to some people, but that's where I'm going to be going after the event is over on the 28th of February, is to race to get the stakeholders in ethnic studies in the state of California prepared for this kind of capability to reach one to many. So that's kind of, you know, the underpinning of everything I'm doing, is to get us to be a fully capable ethnic studies producer, and find those procurers of ethnic studies to meet us. So I know we're short on time. Jeff, you have any questions, suggestions? I mean, we can meet offline and look at the Google Doc, but any suggestions that you have?
Yeah, first of all, okay, I lost somebody. First of all, I got to get a better hairstyle, because, you know, Shoney's looking way too good for, you know, for this situation. So this is, I'm feeling a little embarrassingly simple. So on a serious note, let me say, I think he's right. And I think that we just got to get tight on, you know, what the outcome is. Like when I look at my section says USC Marshall Annenberg Media Summit. And right, and I know we're planning to get tighter, but, you know, I think we all have to just, you know, that's all super wide, right? So I'm talking about, like, okay, is it digital meets, you know, digital to you know, meaning I'm trying to get tighter on my section. That's why I'm asking what the target is. That's why I'm asking what the outcomes are, because that will help us. Like even the ethnic studies piece is pretty wide, right? You wanted to go into an ethnic studies block of programming, but I think that the way that we're set up with Jay Tucker, a good friend of mine, as well as you guys, Jay Tucker's a business, digital, you know, like I'm seeing that theme about, you know, sort of the new economy, the new, you know, that flavor. And I think that you got to be, we'll have to be tighter on what that is, because that'll help us program. So where it really, the title should be specific about what we're trying to do. And so I'm struggling with it right now, but it's you know, like, you know, I have a module on, you know, I did a module in my class this past week. I brought in a video clip of real slaves speaking from, you know, 100 years ago, like being interviewed, and for the Library of Congress. But I talked about technology systems and shifts in the economy that cause certain people to be locked out of those economies, right? Which is what we've been. So my point is that, you know, we can do a lot of things, but I think if we just start tightening up, it'll help us, you know, and that's all I say. I'm saying it too long myself here.
Okay, well, and again, in the abstract, I put the past events that are called When Worlds Collide, and I started, you know, just before Mobile World Congress in 2019 doing these kinds of panels and workshops, but the constant theme was how to get students involved in the planning and the production and the execution of how to bring these things, these products to their peer group, to their audiences. And I have failed miserably with COVID in getting them involved. So because I think I have a chance to now have some of these people get some stipends and get a motivated group of people to learn how to stay connected to the task, I think the outcome will be having a group of people, could be 30, 20, who will get a production credit once this thing is finished. And that would be a success for me. How
Okay.
to scale it beyond that, I don't know. And I'm looking for suggestions.
Okay, so after hearing that, I kind of have an idea. I'm not sure if it worked. But you know, Jeff, no worries. If you need, I can recommend you a good hairstylist. He will help you grow out some beautiful locks and shape them out.
Got you.
All right. But yeah, on a more serious note, yeah. So from the sounds of that, Kevin, I think what it would be good to do in that case is, because we're all also trying to work on you know, empowering students, if that's the main theme, or that's a thing that we have always been working on in all the events I've worked Kevin with. I could see designing this program in a way where it's where if the outcome is, this is sort of like a, hey, here's an event we are able to produce to showcase how to go from start to finish on a project or on a something, and presenting the outcomes. And I'm probably looking at it more from the student lens perspective than anything else. I'm not sure how everybody else would tie in, because I'm not everybody else.
Wait, and Shane, and can I ask Shane, can you click on the When Worlds Collide? That just gives you, again, that is our past events. So I'm drawing from our experiences, and scroll down if you can. These are some of the events. The last one we did, Shoni was a producer on the last one, which was volume 7 on Veterans Day. But all of these events were themed around connecting to conferences. Mobile World Congress, Jay Tucker's Pulse, National Association of Broadcasters. But I want this will be the first time we've tried to do something independent from a conference and fitting inside of a conference. But this was a production that Terrence and Shoni, we had a 3-camera crew, sound, lighting, we had a studio, and we broadcast out to the audience and did post-production on this thing. So this is kind of what the evolution of what I think we can do, so that, again, people can get a production credit, they can get exposure to all the things that they're hybrid and not just doing a webinar anymore. So this is, if you guys look at this, I have a lot of the bones and the anatomy of how this thing came together. It took months of planning, but it's still something that Terrence is trying to post-produce so that we can get it prepared for an audience.
Is that the link that's in the chat?
Yes. So when you click
Okay,
on the
good.
globe, when you click on the
I'll
globe,
take a
it has
look
all
at
the
it.
past events. Yes. So scroll down, Shane, if you can, scroll down just real quickly, because this is the event we did for SIGGRAPH. Down a little further. This is an event we did for the California State University Entertainment Alliance. We had Kevin Hart's organization help to participate, but it was more around workforce development, how to get a job, as an entry-level person working a desk. Scroll down a little further. This is an event we did at UCLA Pulse, Jay Tucker, and this was really designed around, a topic that Jay set up for us. Scroll down a little further. This is an event in Mobile World Congress that we did. A little further down. And this is an event, and Jeff, you were in one of these, but this was the very first event. If you can, Shane, click on this one, because this was the last physical event we did before COVID in 2009. No, that's not the one. So click out of that one. But when you guys get a chance, just look at these events as this one right here. This was the event that we, did inside of Mobile World Congress, and Shoney streamed it from the LA Convention Center out to an audience. But this in a perfect world, this is what we would be doing. So anyway, just gives you some idea of what we can do pre-COVID and post. Well, we're still not out of COVID, but this is what I like students to learn, what we can do based on what we've got available for us right now. And these are the careers that people will start to realize that, are still possible. Coming out of COVID, I mean, again, I don't know what kind of world we're going to be in, but I want to expose people to what's possible.
So
it might be good for one of these panels. I have this thing that I do, like, it's called like building the vision. If we're going to do a series of 4, 5, 6 spaces, one of them and the earlier side should, maybe we have a section or a module. I'm happy to do it about sort of building the vision. What's next? What are those areas that you need to be building for, that the marketplace is building for and investing in, that you could tap into? Things like the metaverse, right? That you have billions of dollars right now being invested by Facebook and Disney and a number of other organizations, Google, that are trying to get this universe, which will be monetization for a whole host of people and ecosystems of new students that are jumping into that. And we can, I could go into several pieces of that, right? Not just the metaverse, but there's this digital art pieces that are just going really nuts in terms of creating digital art, monetizing digital art with these new ecosystems. So it might be good for, like, I like where we're at, but I think I want to tighten up, because I can go in several different directions. And I think that one of the directions might be just, hey, building a vision for your future, right? Like, what are those areas that are going to be fast growing, growth areas that are wonderfully creative, that allow you to tap into where the market and the wind will be at your back?
Yeah, I like the narrative of giving our audience or anybody connected, what is our vision for the future? Because again, most of the people we're going to be talking to aren't in the workforce and won't be ready for the workforce until they are ready, until they're prepared. So,
Kevin and Jeff, I love everything that's being said. I just want to quickly say that from the sounds of it, I think we need to hone in on a topic that we want to choose. I mean, just me synergizing off of what Jeff said, from the student lens perspective. I think I would just be teaching or talking about, how to become a actual learner of learning, how to learn, because the way that school systems are set up, you're just taught what to learn and what to think versus how to learn and how to think. So I think that that's where the angle I would, in an ever-growing technology-filled environment where things and information are traveling faster than, getting close to the speed of thought, pretty much. You got to be able to learn really quick on your feet and rapidly develop yourself, or rapidly develop things to keep up with this rapidly developing, world. So I think that that's what I would go into, and because that's something that can be applied to anything else. And then if our panels at the start of the venue, I would say, here's some tips that you can use now at this event to start learning how to learn, and go ahead and go to these other great things that are happening at this event to study and learn different tools and skills to set yourself up for getting involved in these different projects. And that would be kind of like my miniature call to action. But on the bigger, broader spectrum, it seems like there's two main call to actions we have, which is the stipend work, which basically is the umbrella of every project Dakar is going to be working on in the future, for that. And then projects outside of the stipend, working with partners of Dakar, such as you beautiful people on this call, luscious locks or not. And then, and then content locked and key that we would, that Shane was suggesting that we were to have. So I think those are like the main three call to actions, or like funnels, or kind of funnel people to at the end of this event. And I think that's all I can think of.
And guys, as I think, we may not have, but maybe a couple of modules or panels. But I want to boil down the commitments that we can get, the date parts or the times that people can commit to, and we'll go with that. Because at the end of the day, I can see that there's students that I will be recruiting and preparing for being involved with something. And I've got to be, as you say, Jeff, laser focused on whatever it is that they're going to be tasked to work on. And so that's more important to me than anything, is whatever it is that we boil down, I got to get it boiled down quick so that they can actually start to take it apart.
If I could just jump off what Shoni just said, I think it's really important, because this is supposed to be more of a conference style, and we're trying to replicate what you used to do with Dakar. It would be important for the people who do join us and who are in the audience to have a chance to talk with each other and to ask each other, what did you learn from that panel? Just like, I feel like there are different learning styles that everyone has. Not everyone is a learner, and not everyone is able to learn just by listening. Some people need visuals. Some people need to talk and collaborate with other people that are learning the same thing that they did. Some people need to just listen. Some people need to write it down. So if we had activities for people to be able to write, and just something to engage their brain a little bit more, so they don't feel like they're just being lectured at, because I feel like then they're not going to take away what we're trying to give them. They're just going to have these notes that they took in this webinar conference, and they might not think back to it. But if they have a chance to have a conversation with someone, or if there's a video that we made that we play, they can go back and watch that video, or they think about that conversation, or they think about the activity that we did.
Nice. Well, and that's why, Dana's 21, Shoni's in his mid-20s. I want to hear from the students how, what is the state of learning and doing for them right now. I have no idea. And I know, Jeff, you have a clue. You're talking to these people every day, but what is going to be the outcome of this activity is still in question for the end user. So, if that can become my laser focus right now, is what can these people, these end users, take away from this thing so that we can do it again and again and again. That's what I want. So whatever this thing boils down to becomes something that we can replicate for what we've learned about how they're going to take it. So that's what I suggest we do. And again, I have a client that wants to offer me a contract so that I can do this again, but it's going to be my leadership and my vision that they're going to have to agree to. And it's going to be, again, my goal to deliver what it is I promised them. And I'm having a conversation with them today about implementation of everything that we're talking about.
So now, if I could jump in and just provide some feedback to Shoni and Dana's point, and it kind of coincides with locking content, behind lock and key, and really just garnering the audience for continued engagement and participation that is quantifiable and measurable from our perspective, right? The Dakar perspective of having a user base. So even besides our own membership platform, we can utilize third-party, platforms like Facebook, where conferences like this create their own private groups. And, each segment could have its own hashtag. And in addition to breakout rooms on Zoom, we can have a breakout protocol within the social media group where folks for each segment, you know, there's a hashtag for it and they engage with each other. They write a post on, you know, we create the guidelines. What did you learn? What do you know now? How has it changed you? Whatever those guidelines are, we create that and we guide people's engagement to follow that procedure. They write their post, they hashtag it. Other people write posts and hashtag it, and we encourage them to like, love, comment on one another's posts to engage with one another. That's the first step. And if they want to be a little bit more, you know, advanced or engaging about it, then they can do a live video instead of a post and talk those things where we can encourage people to step outside of their comfort zone, get on live and do those things. And, you know, these are activities that I've learned and dealt with directly with different personal development programs and things like Tony Robbins, Les Brown, all these type of, you know, conferences and how they interact as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Jeff, I know we're going to be leaving pretty soon. I think we just lost Jeff. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap now by saying this Google Doc that I think Shane and Terrence will be working on. And Shane commented that at some point, a project management tool can become part of what it is that we implement, so that some of the students will learn project management and potentially even get a certification out of this. That would be a major, major goal for me, is certification. Any certifications that any students can get. So I don't know, does anybody have any last comments, suggestions, or comments before we break?
The only thing I was thinking was if, because we're kind of branding it as a conference or as kind of a webinar, but if we branded it as more of a program or a master class, we might get more engagement from students because they'll come in knowing exactly what they're coming for. So if we branded it as a camp or a master class, like a master class camp kind of, just so people know that they're coming specifically to engage with other students and engage with the people on the panels.
Okay, I like that, Dana, because I think that's what I want to hear, what students' expectations or needs are. And if that's what if they're in classrooms, they're probably going to be looking for some collateral as to why they're going to be engaged. And the only thing that they know is that I got to get a grade, I got to comply to what my teacher says that I got to do. And that's the value that they have right now, is that either they're going to, you know, meet the standard of what their teachers and their environments are looking for, or they're not. So yeah, maybe it is a master class. Maybe the event really becomes a series of master classes.
Yeah, and I think another good motivator is if it's possible for students and colleges to get extra credit points, they'll definitely, some who are just like tryhards will definitely go for it. I know them. I was one of them at one point.
Okay.
The other thing I would say is if you also explicitly say, hey, this could lead to work in launching your in getting internship to learn, and you would be working on doing projects related to ethnic study groups, related to media content and live streaming. So definitely check out this master class or boot camp, online boot camp. I think that's another explicit way to bring them in. I love that idea. I wasn't even thinking of that. That's genius.
Certificate would make them happy. If you give someone a certificate that says you've completed this class and it kind of looks like a diploma, they'll put it in their resume and they'll say that they took this class, and it will push them forward.
Right. And one of the things we definitely, I mean, again, LinkedIn has a group of certifications that I think we could qualify for. So we could actually get a batch of LinkedIn certifications that we can deliver this, you know, offering to those kinds of certifications, project management. You know, there's even one for the community colleges, business information worker certificates that could hit those milestones for them to get a certificate out of this. That could be, you know, valuable for those folks who value certificates.
Yeah, and,
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 and
I'll just write this in the chat, just an idea for a CM project management application to check out. It's free, scalable, it's awesome.
right.
So
And we just had Rick from Silo Cloud join us. Rick, do you know of any certification or any badging that anybody could get from over-the-top television or broadcast?
I do not, Kevin. I
Yeah.
haven't checked on it, but I do not currently know one, no.
Yeah, because I don't know of anybody that actually has a curriculum or lesson plans about broadcast and where broadcast is going. Has anybody heard of anything? Especially streaming. A master class in where streaming is or going.
I can check with Jeff, who you've previously had conversations with, because the University of Oklahoma is actually writing or certifying the curriculum that we will be producing for Silo. So that may be of interest.
Oh, absolutely. Because if nothing else, everything we're doing is in the realm of streaming, and no one, I think, is breaking down what are those career pathways in the future of streaming. I don't know. I don't know of any curriculum or even workforce program that's breaking down streaming. Everything's TV, film, animation, virtual production, but I've never seen anything about streaming in the career pathways that can be had from it. So yeah, Rick, you just given me an idea. Now, if we're doing master classes, how do we find ways to identify things that could become compelling to people who want to learn about this emerging area?
I think if we gave people the chance to get either an IMDb credit or if they could add something like a really nice title to their LinkedIn page, something just to make their resume look better. But honestly, I think an IMDb credit would be like people's.
Well, yeah, and to that point, Dana, the people that I hope that are in the recruitment bubble for me, I want them to be able to have a production credit, and working under Terrence to produce this is something that we post-produce and then make available for an IMBD credit is the goal. I don't know how many people have an IMBD credit on this call. I have 2, but they're not easy to get.
I have 2.
Great. So, Dana, I'm going to talk to you about helping us understand how to get an IMBD credit for students. And more important, that is going to be critical for people to understand the value of it, especially if they want to get into the creative industry. It's priceless.
Awesome. I have
Okay.
one IMDb credit on my wish list. Send it to me if you find it. That'd be great.
What was that showing? I didn't understand. What an IMBD credit on your wish list? You
Wants one.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing that we get on November 11th, that's what we're trying to get. But yeah, I think we're gonna break now. So again, I'm going to send the recordings from yesterday and today to you guys. But I'm racing right now to get the Google Doc circulated so that we can again get an event that will help us really rally around how we can deliver a group of students to help plan and produce and execute this thing. And then the audience that's going to see it will follow.
All right, perfect. So I'm looking forward to the follow-up.
Okay, great. All right, thank you guys.
All right, everybody. Make it a great day.
Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.
Bye for now.
Thank you.